Hello friends, my name is Ramasu. Today we shall discuss about a topic, the stakeholder engagement plan. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in project management or you are planning to give exam of PMP in near future. So let's start friend. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my new videos can reach to you. Friend, a stakeholder engagement plan is a formal document which outlines the plan to communicate with the stakeholders who hold interest or potential interest in a project. A stakeholder engagement plan identifies potential stakeholders, their interest level, power, and influence, and is continually updated to meet stakeholder needs. So, first there are 5 levels of stakeholder engagement: unaware, not aware of the project and the impact of the project; resistant, aware of the project and resistance to change; neutral, aware of the project and neither supports or resists; supportive, aware of the project and supportive of change; leading, aware of the project and impact and actively engaged in ensuring the project is a success. A requirement that a stakeholder expect is that you have already completed and identified the key stakeholders for your project. In order to succeed in stakeholder management, it is important that you have 2 documents prepared prior to starting your project. These are stakeholder communication template. A stakeholder communication plan, sometimes referred to as a matrix, is a must-have for all project coordinators to help ensure all stakeholder requirements have been addressed and are fulfilled. A stakeholder communication plan can assist in outlining expectations for the communication points that will take place during project processes and milestones. Stakeholder engagement plan. A stakeholder engagement plan will help identify the communication mediums, tools, technology you will use to keep engaged with your stakeholders. You will need to use different communication methods depending on your stakeholder interest, influence, and power. Then, friend, we can discuss like what are the basically how you define a good stakeholder engagement plan. A good stakeholder management plan should be well researched and well structured. It should include stakeholder identification, their interest level, their power and influence on the organization and project. For example, is your stakeholder a decision maker or impartial? Are they influential or persuasive of others in the decision making process? A good stakeholder plan should define the scope of the project, include matrices such as importance, influence matrix, and a stakeholder engagement matrix, which is useful for a quick overview of stakeholders. It should include accurate timelines and have a post stakeholder engagement plan in place prior to the start of the project. 5 key inclusions that make a good stakeholder engagement plan. First, outline project scope. Defining your project scope and outlining the key objectives is crucial to the overall success of the project. It's important to scope out key questions: who will make decisions and when, and who will be affected. Define the stakeholders' roles and how influential they will be in your decision making. Define boundaries. Identify your boundaries for your project and what limitations there will be. This might be topics out of a scope or off the table, or conversations around the budget which are only reserved for particular stakeholders. If your stakeholders include members of the public or you will be liaising with the media at all, prepare answers to some of these questions as they may ask. Decide on metrics. At this stage, you should decide on the metrics that you will use to quantify your project. These should be measurable, achievable, and easily tracked. Create timelines. A timeline with a milestone should be part of any good stakeholder engagement plan. Plan dates and milestones and project phases on your project timeline. Try using project planning tools like so many tools are available. Post engagement plan. Lastly, creating a post engagement plan during your planning phase is easier than trying to think about it at the end of the project. Stakeholder engagement plan in 5 steps. Stakeholder identification. The first step in putting together your stakeholder engagement plan is to identify your stakeholders. Be sure to list all stakeholders involved in the project and do not underestimate any stakeholder. The smallest of a stakeholder with the least amount of interest can often be the most influential. Identify interest. Identify the level of interest your stakeholder has in your project. Are they well invested, less invested, but still interested? The best way to identify this from a visual perspective is to use a stakeholder grid or number their interest, for example 1 to 10. You can combine your stakeholder grid with your stakeholders' power and or influence. Identify power and influence. Before you start to rate your stakeholders' power in your stakeholder engagement plan, you need to define what is power actually. Is it the ability to influence other stakeholders, or is it the power behind the finances of the project? For example, if they withdraw from the project, you will effectively lose your funding. This can be done verbally initially, but it must be detailed in your stakeholder engagement plan. Once the definition of power is established, you can then use this as one of the axes in your stakeholder grid. Create a stakeholder engagement strategy matrix. On top of your stakeholder grid, your stakeholder engagement plan should establish a stakeholder engagement matrix or a stakeholder communication plan. This will help you plan out your communication strategy with your stakeholders, the frequency you will contact them, the medium used, and all other details for that stakeholder. Okay, then choose tools and software for execution. Your tools and software are used for your communication and engagement of stakeholders. They should feature within your stakeholder engagement plan and detail how you are going to use them to keep your stakeholders engaged. Marketing automation software can help you stay in contact with your stakeholders. With email automation, you can customize your emails with dynamic content and only send certain stakeholders specific information, as well as use visually appealing templates which make the information much easier to digest here actually. So friend, thank you. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with the friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video. Thank you friends.